What's going on, y'all? Hope everybody's doing good tonight, or today, depending on what time this gets released. But I just figured I'd cover this while the subject's hot. I woke up to great or bad news, it depends on who you ask, of Hasbro selling D&D to Tencent, apparently. Now, this is pretty funny considering the video I just made about how D&D has fallen off a cliff and is crashing rapidly toward the sea. Yeah, it would be really funny for them to sell their one of their biggest IPs to Tencent, who is a mass stakeholder in many of these other IPs that are really popular. For instance, they own 30% of Larian Studios. But let's just crack right into some of these articles because they're pretty interesting. Let's see. We have Neo Gaff. Oh wait, that's just forums. That's some bullshit. Let's go to something big. Let's go to Pandaily, which that sounds like it could be a Chinese. Yeah, Pandaily. Yeah, definitely a Chinese company. I would bet money on it. But either way, let's see what they have to say about here. Speed Daily, the original reporters on this, exclusively learned that the American toy company Hasbro is seeking to sell its well-known IP Dungeons & Dragons, and Tencent is one of the potential buyers. Now, if you know, Tencent owns like 30% of Larian Studios or some, garbage like that. And I don't trust Tencent because all Chinese companies are beholden to the Chinese government. But they might treat the IP better than, let's say, Hasbro. But if you believe in the, I guess you would call it soft power kind of thing, soft war, soft manipulation tactics, it would be in Tencent's best interest. It would be in Tencent's best interest to make it worse, to make it more pandery and stupid and nonsensical. Because if you wanted to de-establish a country and break it down from the inside, you would turn all of its youth into freaks. So I think that's probably what they'll do. But, here's to hoping. Here's to hoping. Let's just continue this article a little bit because it is pretty funny. And this is all pretty funny because I just made a video 3 days ago talking about this trash shit. This absolute garbage for super. But it is what it is. D&D is what the beauty of fantasy role-play game is that you can change them and tweak them and do whatever you want to them to make them make sense or make them make less sense depending on what color your hair is. So let's go down a little bit, and that's a generalization. We don't want to generalize. We don't want to assume that people with blue and green hair are just rife with mental issues. But let's go on. Let's go to and scroll a little bit down. Care when Hasbro was founded. In 1935, the company gradually became a world-class company with its Monopoly series, yada, yada, yada. They own My Little Pony. God, they own Transformers too. That's why it's taken a dive. Jesus. I mean, it's funny right here before I know I keep saying let's get back to this, but before I, get back into it, it's funny that the amount of IPs they own, and you can go look at a direct correlation with these IPs sucking bad. They're awful. I mean, Transformers, any of the modern Transformers movies, I mean, the Shia LaBeouf one was okay, but since then you just get loads of garbage largely. But let's go on down. Let's get back to the point. According to informed sources, the financial crisis faced by Hasbro is the main reason for considering the sale of D&D, and Tencent's investments Larian Studios is acting as an intermediary in this transaction. Larian Studios' game Baldur's Gate 3 won the Game of the Year award in 2023 and is considered one of the most successful adaptations of D&D. And I'll give it that. I'll give it that. I've played a little bit of it. It's hard to get into it for me for some reason. I don't really know I can't really pinpoint why it's hard for me to get into it. Maybe I got to give it a, another shot. But I love the effort that is put into the game, because my brother is a huge fan of it and he's beaten it, and he said that it is one of the most extensive RPGs he's ever played, as far as like the amount of choice you have, and characters' responses to the things you say and shit like that. But anyway, as a result, it was seen as a potential target buyer by Hasbro. However, due to insufficient funds, Larian ultimately introduced this deal to shareholder Tencent, which is hilarious, due to insufficient funds. I can't imagine that a company like Hasbro would ever have insufficient funds. Why would they have insufficient funds? Why? Oh, why would they have that? Why would they have insufficient funds? It's just really crazy. That's really funny. I mean, oh wait, badass art. Here goes some dope art. Forgot to show that in my last video. That's pretty sick. But yeah, why would they have insufficient funds? It couldn't be that their entire purpose is to serve some greater effort to bash the old fans and introduce a new fan base. Almost like they're curating a fan base. Almost like all these companies are curating fan bases. That's like crazy to say though. Because if you go read some of the comments on my last video, that's crazy to say that they're, curating a fan base. But I'm sure this one will get a bunch of good comments too, and I'm looking forward to it. But, I love you all out there. You're all, misguided or not, you're all probably really good people. I might be misguided, in some of my thinking, and I'm willing to adapt. But I refuse to adapt to a mass spread of mental illness. That's not what I'm going to do, and because that's insane. But let's continue. Hasbro founded in 1923. Again, who gives a fuck? I don't know why they put that in there. I mean, it's I guess because of the end sentence. They wrote this whole paragraph just for the end sentence to make sense. However, the century-old enterprise is currently facing a huge crisis due to losses. Its stock price has dropped from a high of $108 in 2019 to $51. Closing data on January 26th. So $51. You can get you a stock of this bullshit for $51. This ultimate. According to the financial report, as of the third quarter of 2023, Hasbro has been experiencing consecutive losses for 4 quarters due to its main business of toy sales. The accumulated loss from quarter 4 2022 to quarter 3 2023 exceeds $500 million. And in quarter 2 of 2023, there was even a negative free cash flow situation. Shock. Shock. Oh my God. All your fans are males. All your fans were males, and small percentage of your fans were women, and that's fine. That's okay. It could have been a larger percentage. You could rein in women. If you knew how to write women, but you don't know how to write women. Even the women that work there don't know how to write women, because they write them as like super girl bossy, whiny bitches that just complain about patriarchy, and they're innately strong because strong. They're just strong because of strong. They're strong girl, strong. But yeah, whatever. Let's go on. Although the company as a whole is in a loss situation, its D&D related IP is a high-quality asset. Was a high-quality asset, and has achieved considerable success in video game adaptations. No, it hasn't. It has one video game adaptation that's done good. If you go look at, what was it, fucking Dark Alliance, where they completely destroy who Dritz, Canterbury, Wolfgar, and Brunor Battlehammer are. They completely destroy their characters. That game is not worth playing at all. I grew up with those characters. They're amazing characters. They make so much sense. They, great reading for a young boy, for a young man, for a young girl, for a young woman. Great reading based in fantasy, but there is a underlying historical reality to it, okay? And that's I guess that's what I forgot to harken on in my last video, is the underlying historical reality to these worlds, and the kind of historical tropes that come along with this fantasy writing based when thousands and thousands of years ago. Yeah, I mean, when you remove a basis of cohesion, you remove sense making from your platform, people are going to check out. The only people you're going to be able to attract are children. Okay, and that reminds me of the book they just released, but that's for another video. Let's go down. Let's see, where was I? Last year, the release of Baldur's Gate 3 by Larian Studios was both critically acclaimed and commercially successful. It has not only won 6 TGA awards, including Game of the Year, but also generated revenue of $657 million, surpassing the Harry Potter IP adaptation Hogwarts Legacy, which is a dumpster fire now, making it the most profitable PC exclusive game last year. The success of Baldur's Gate 3 is also reflected in the financial data of Hasbro. The financial report shows that in the third quarter of 2023, driven by Baldur's Gate 3 alone and other Monopoly IP games called Monopoly Go, throwing Monopoly Go in there as a driver of sales is like, it's just kind of silly. It's like a soap company saying, our biggest product is lavender scent. Our soap company says, our soap drove our sales last year. Frank. Yeah, that's just a little silly. But let's see. I wonder how many Ouija boards Hasbro sold last year. That's a funny question. Anyway, let's go on. Let's continue here. Surpassed the Harry Potter IP. Adabadekapa, bunch of horseshit. Advertising for the shitty company. Agabada, Chinese article. Udubudu, totally believable. Let's see. Yeah, and that's the whole thing too, is that this could be like a miscommunication and you know, largely a crock of bullshit. But we'll see. Driven by Baldur's Gate 3 and another Monopoly IP game called Monopoly Go, Hasbro's electronic gaming and licensing related business achieved a contrary year-on-year growth of 40%, reaching $423 million. Very cool. One game achieved that, not, you know, not fucking Monopoly Go, but whatever. It's crazy that they've only been able to spike their growth off of a single video game when you go look up at the amount of IPs that Hasbro owns. It's really telling. But outside of the electronic games, D&D is one of the most popular tabletop games in Europe and America. It has appeared multiple times in American TV shows such as The Big Bang Theory and Stranger Things. A large fan base has formed around its related culture, making it a top-tier IP. Now let's kind of talk about for a second the rot that has gone into this culture. It is truly a brain rot. Many, like if you know, I guess nerds have always been, I guess, freakish kind of people, freakish kind of weakish little dudes. But I know a lot of nerds out there are strong guys and girls, strong guys and gals, real strong mentally and physically. And lately, it's kind of been dominated because of, I'll say, you know, shitty movies, shitty shows, reinforcing these modern tropes, be in fantasy. It's attracted this very brainwashed and childish fan base, which will fade into obscurity, like they deserve to. Once this shit, you know, they'll fade. Once this shit gets back into the swing of where it needs to be, you know, once they start writing things that make sense, it's, you know, it's going to come to a big crash. I mean, there's only like, and this is where they try to be different and they venture from the norm. Okay, and venturing from the norm is fine if you are smart. Venturing from the norm is fine if you have a good work ethic and you're not trying to promote, excuse me, you're not trying to promote goo goo gaga bullshit.
Tụi tao bắn mày á, mày tưởng tao có súng hả? Tao bắn mày á.
If you're not trying to promote that, then yeah, it's good. Like, it's really good. You can make it make a lot of sense. But the second you try to make up new story tropes. Okay, I think there's like 30 something story tropes that are like 30 something, like 34 or 36 styles of story that you can write, like story structures. There's only like 34 out there that are like the common like frameworks of what people write stories on, like kind of like the hero's journey. You have the hero's journey and things like that, and that's like it's written out at this point. People have done it so much, but that shit sells. That shit sells. Shit that makes sense sells largely. It sells pretty good. Shit that doesn't make sense doesn't sell and jumps off a cliff and kills itself. Shit that doesn't make sense. Adults, real people that live normal lives, they understand that it doesn't make sense. But when you spend your day on the internet doing internet shit and you build an opinion off of TikTok, you might think that the world is full of evil big men that want to hurt and kill you. So you would have a vested interest in adding trans-inclusive characters and total men to your shit. You might have an interest in that. And when I say I don't even mean gay. I mean just like bitchy dudes. I understand the connotation, I get it. I understand people, he's talking about gay people. No, I'm just talking about little bitchy dudes. It's a pretty good insult. Bring back. But let's see here. A Tencent IEG Interactive Entertainment Group insider revealed that Tencent, represented by its overseas business department, IEG Global, Chinese bullshit, is in negotiation with the aim of acquiring a series of rights, including the adaptation rights for electronic games such as D&D. Now, what does that mean? Electronic games such as D&D. Does that mean just D&D as video game form? Or does that mean D&D as all of it? Okay, or will they do what they do with all companies, and they'll just buy a huge stake in it, and then they'll be able to shift which way the narrative goes? Because that's how that works. That's how that works. You would not want your biggest investor to pull out of your company if you couldn't comply to their demands. And currently, I think you'd have to be holding a wall of shit over your eyes to not see that there are other countries at play here when it comes to influencing the youth to be weak-minded garbage people, self-centered, narcissistic garbage people that that think that edgy bitchiness is cool. It's cool to like school your boss. It's so cool when you like school the man. When I fought against the patriarchy and I walked out of my job today and I don't make any money anymore. That's cool, okay? I've done that before. I've cussed the boss, and granted, he and she, the people I've cussed at workplaces, walked out on, were not good people. But guess what? I went home broke, and I didn't have a job anymore, okay? So maybe sticking it to the patriarchy is not always a good idea, okay? Maybe think a little bit about what you're doing before you write bullshit that just feeds your own narrative. You got to ask yourself, there's a list of questions you need to ask yourself before you publish a work. Okay, you need to ask yourself, is this too pushy? Is this too preachy? Is this the work of my accumulated hate against the system? Is that what this work is about? Is it trying to spread a message to people rather than tell a good story? Because I'll tell you what, good stories can give messages without trying to shove them down your throat, okay? Oh man, Allegory. Let's talk about Allegory for a minute. Allegory is garbage, okay? Modern Allegory, however. Historical Allegory is pretty cool. Historical comparison, that can be cool, especially when your world works in a fantasy medieval type setting. You know, the historical allegory can be really cool, but when you start to take modern tropes and you insert them into fantasy, you know, it's you're gonna have a bunch of people checking out, and that's what's happening. That's you know, that's really what's happening here. You know who hates allegory? Who hated allegory? Tolkien. Tolkien hated allegory, and that's, you know, we can go look up. You can go look it up here. Let's see. Quote by the godfather of fantasy himself. I cordially dislike allegory. Oh wait, you know what? I'll read it like him. I cordially dislike allegory in all its manifestations, and always have done so since I grew old and weary enough to detect its presence. I much prefer history, true or feigned, with its varied applicability to the thought and experience of readers. That's a quote about allegory, by the man himself, you know? So, I don't know, you know, you don't have to base your, you don't have to base what you write off of what a dead guy said, but if you know, you acknowledge him as who he is, and you understand his valuable, you understand his value in the world of fantasy, you know, it's, and the fact that he was an amazing author, and he fucking helped write, I believe, the Oxford Dictionary, I think it was. You know, let's check that. Let's check that real quick, because I don't want to sound dumb here. I don't want to sound stupid. Let me sound really smart. Yeah, okay. So he worked for the Oxford English Dictionary. You know, that says a lot. You know what I mean? When you're such a wordsmith, when you're so, when you've worked so hard to, you know, do certain things in your life, and you've worked up so much credibility behind you that you could work for such a esteemed company like, you know, the Oxford English Dictionary. You know, like, that's fucking crazy, and it's very admirable, and I would take his words as truth. I would take his words as intelligent, and I would try to, you know, at least try to work that into some of my work. You know, when you're writing something, another question you can ask yourself, is it too allegorical? Am I fucking trying to beat a dead horse here? Okay, and it might be that I'm beating a dead horse, because nothing I say is going to change these people's minds. They're only going to double down harder, which is fine. You know, they can do that. That's okay. You can double down until your company burns. That's fine. Just keep doubling down. Keep making shit that don't make sense. Keep it on. That's what sells. When you make stuff that doesn't make sense, that's what really sells. And you could really tell that in their sales, and how they're considering selling Dungeons and Dragons. It's just fucking crazy. We'll see how that goes. We'll see what they do, and I hope they do sell it. I mean, maybe not to Tencent, maybe not to fucking Chinese spy company. You know, that would be cool. Maybe they could sell it to somebody who gives a fuck about its lore and about the world they're working in. You know, that would be really cool, but I doubt that's gonna happen. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about it. Oh wait, you know what? Actually, let's go here real quick. Let's go to Jeremy Crawford talking about, you know, he's like the lead architect designer at Dungeons and Dragons, and they just made a video today also, you know, titled D&D Playtest Survey Results. Okay, and he kind of addresses that there was an erroneous release date published in regards to the 2024 Player's Handbook. Definitely incorrect, he says. They're not releasing it in May. They'll still be writing it in May, and so it's going to be coming out this year. But, you know, there's another article. Here we go. This is from this is from 2023. Okay, but another reason for the delay. Now listen to this. Okay, October of 2023, published on Dexerto.com. We've got D&D's newest physical book has been delayed due to high defect rate. Okay, because so much shit in it doesn't make sense that they didn't want to put it out. Okay, this quote right here. Okay, this quote is so fucking funny. Okay, this is from this is a quote from, where's this motherfucker? Where's his name? Something Brink. Something Brink. Kyle Brink. Okay, here's a quote from him. Let's look up who Kyle Brink is. Let's look up his LinkedIn. Let's see what he looks like. Oh, he's the executive producer of D&D. Okay, Kyle Brink, Wizards of the Coast, executive producer, pronouns in the bio, he, him. You got to do that. You know, he was forced to do that. Even if he didn't want to do that, I fucking guarantee you, I would bet money that somebody told him, hey, Kyle, could you put your pronouns in your bio? It's making all the employees confused as to what to call you. Which is fucking insane. He's obviously a man, but whatever. He, him, Kyle Brink, said, the defect rate of the deck of many things is too high. I cannot in good conscience ship this stock, Brink explained. We need to fully inspect it and understand exactly how the units are defective. They're fucking defective because the writers are defective. They're defective because you can't be consistent in a world where you're constantly making new rules to rules that have been established for fucking 30 years. And I don't mean changing the game styles. I don't mean like rules of like, you know, they've been changing rules. They change the rules every fucking decade or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I mean the rules of like your firmament of sense making, your whole fucking framework of sense making. You know, when you start to change, when you start to fuck around with those rules, it gets the water gets a little muddy. The full set includes a physical deck of cards for players to draw from up to the immersion and according to Polygon. This is where a majority of the problems lie. They reported that new packaging methods seem to have damaged the cards. We inspected very closely everything throughout the production process to make sure everything was going to be fine with that, and yet some of the problems that we are seeing here are specifically because of some of the paper packaging that we use. I can believe that. I can believe that's true. I could also believe that maybe some of the higher-ups maybe read some of this shit and, you know, they maybe decided that it didn't make any sense because it's written by nonsensical weirdos. But that's my theory. Maybe it's not true. Maybe it's just, you know. But those cards have already released. You know, they had a digital release in November 14th, which digital is fucking, gross. So gross. Let's see if that ever released. Release date, January 5th. Okay, so it did come out. It's out. You can get this shit now. I would actually like to read this. I probably should go check this out. Maybe get it. But, I mean, the cover looks pretty badass. Like that, you got a super strong looking girl, which that's all they do with these covers nowadays is put girls on them, which is fucking fine. You know what I mean? If you make it make sense, it's good. But because as people say, we've had a male dominated scene for 40 years. The girls need some representation too. Okay, this is another point, you know, that I like to make is that when you're writing something to make up for the lack of something else, you're fucking shooting yourself in the foot. And I'm not saying that girls shouldn't be in this because women craft and are part of some of the greatest fantasy ever written, okay? That women are invaluable to fantasy. You need women in fantasy, but you also need fantasy to make sense, which they can't do because the women writing this shit at Wizards of the Coast are men. They're fucking, a lot of them are biological men. And even the women that aren't biological men, you can hardly call them women because they feel the need to put their gender in their bio. Or you can go, as I showed before, you can go look at their LinkedIns and they're women, but they identify as men. So, you know, whatever. That's just, it's just a little funny. It's a little goofy. But, you know, there's a reason why bargain stores like Ollie's have whole display shelves of Warriors of Krynn, one of their newest releases. There's whole display shelves of this shit. I just bought one the other day because I didn't want to buy one for $20, you know. Pretty. I mean, it looks sick. It looks badass. You know. I'll say that. It looks pretty sick. But you know what looks sicker? You know what looks even sicker? Oh, I must have took it off. I must have took that shameful price tag off. Yeah. Oh, no. It was on the outside. This is the inside. And I threw that shit away because you don't need fucking 3 boxes for one thing. But, yeah, this was $10.99 at Ollie's. And if you go look anywhere else, you know, it's like $24 or some shit. You know, if you went and got this at Books A Million, it's $20 or whatever. So, you know, that's just kind of funny. Why would this be at a bargain store? Just a little funny. But yeah, that's all for now, y'all. I'll see you later in the week or next week or something. But until then, hope everybody's good and have a good night.